Welcome to It's Your Wealthy podcast edition. I'm certified financial planner David Somerville. I'm joined on today's episode by financial advisors Cody Miller and Drake Somerville. Guys, how are you? We're into August.
Excellent.
Summer's flying by.
It is going a little faster than I had hoped. It's hot out there, though.
It's hot. But I don't know. Do you have a pool at your house?
No pool for me.
So for those that have pools, you know my pain. So in July, the pool's jam-packed. So June, April, May, June, it's opened. Nobody goes into it. It's a cold plunge. July, it's perfect, right? And then come August, it's a ghost town in the backyard. There's nobody in the backyard. The pool, I'm feeding it chemicals. I'm washing.
This is my big arguments against the pool.
Don't
my
get a
wife says
pool.
she wants one.
Don't get a pool.
That's my argument against it. It's a 1 month a year proposition.
Join a club and go to their pool, right? Or join the club for the hot tub, right? But
Dave, what are we talking about today? We got a good one. This one's near and dear to my heart.
This is a good one here. So on today's show, we're going to talk about why wealthy people pay for financial advice and others often don't. So most people think financial advice is about picking investments. Wealthy people don't think that at all. For them, advice is about avoiding expensive mistakes they can't afford to make. So we've got some great topics here on this point. But guys, first of all, my first point here is when it comes to why wealthy people pay for advice is complexity increases faster than income. So, when you're 25, 30 years old, when you're Drake's age, what's going on? You got to worry about putting some money into a TFSA. You got a mortgage. You do a few things. You're trying to pay your bills. Cody, you get to be in your 30s or 40s. You got family. There's more complexity. 50s, even more complexity. Now you're in your 60s and you've got lots of complexity, right? You're getting older. You're thinking about retirement. You're thinking about, the future. You've got things that are complicated. Things like, I've got my corporation, I've got my business, I've got my holding company. How do I pull money out of the holding company? I've got multiple income streams. I've got things like I've got Canada pension, old age pension. I've got a TFSA. I've got open money. I've got a RIF. I've got a LIF, whatever it may be. I've got real estate portfolios. I've got rental real estate. What do I do with that? I've got a cottage up north. What happens with that down the road? You've got cross-border assets. You've got a Florida home, potentially, right? Mm-hmm. Timeshares in different places. You've got trust and estate planning. So at a certain point, you're not investing. What you're doing is you're running a financial system.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you have that type of complex system, the cost of the mistakes become asymmetric, right? So for most people, you make a bad investment, it's usually recoverable, right? Market goes down 10, 20%. Yep. You can usually recover from that. When you've got wealthier individuals, any type of bad structure in their system, right? If they haven't planned ahead properly, if they haven't had the vision to think about all the things that are coming down the road, those can be 6 or 7 figure tax mistakes sometimes. Poor estate plans, we see that all the time, right? There's just permanently leaking money out of the estate.
Well, just a quick point to jump in here is that we had a client years ago who sold his business, and what happened was his accountant said to him, don't take salary, take dividend income. And he kept taking dividend income his whole life. I get it. He was trying to pay a bit less tax, but at the end of the day, the corporation pays tax and so does the individual. What happened was when he sold his business, he had no RSP room. So where he would have had the ability to shelter a bunch of the gain from the sale, he didn't do it. So again, people need to get good advice because one mistake like that, with this client alone, this mistake was probably going to cost him over his lifetime $100,000. So again, it's about getting the plan together, and it's worth paying for good advice.
One of the things you've taught me that I think has been extremely valuable, and I incorporate this in all my discussions, is we need to build off-ramps. We have to have off-ramps in our financial plan. And if all you're doing is optimizing for tax avoidance or deferral, right? You're just trying to pay the least amount of tax possible today. Feels nice today. Doesn't give us a lot of off-ramps or optionality down the road. So when we do comprehensive financial planning, this is what I think wealthy people understand the best is they need options when they get where they go. And they're not just paying for returns. They don't just want us to provide the best returns. They want us to help them avoid mistakes and avoid damage.
Well, you know what, guys, Cody and Drake, the returns are the easy part.
Yeah.
Like in the investment world, right? The returns are the easiest part of our job, right? Yes. It's all the other things that take a lot of effort, blood, sweat, and tears.
Well, it's also the part we have, I would say, I don't want to say the least control over, but I mean, you put someone into the right portfolio, you're kind of at the whims of the market. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. 8 out of 10 years, we're going to have great times. All of the powerful advice that we provide are all the things that are within our control. Like you said, the investment return is sort of the easiest of that whole equation.
That's right.
Something that I hear from time to time is people think advisors are just picking stock. And I think that, and wealthy people know this, is that the real value is tax and structure, not necessarily the investing. I think that tax optimization creates sometimes more value than just market returns. Corporate structuring can save more than portfolio performance. And the third thing I want to say is estate planning protects intergenerational wealth.
One of the things I find, Drake, all the time is I'll always ask the client the question is, they'll come in here, we'll do a financial plan, retirement plan, whatever it may be. And the client's got $3, $4, $5 million, whatever the number is between his real estate, he's got a cottage, he's got a bunch of money in RSPs, TFSAs, whatever it may be. And I'll ask him, I'll say, well, what do you think you're worth? Like, what are you worth? And they'll say, oh, I'm worth $5 million. I'm worth $3 million, $10 million, whatever the number is. I said, well, that's what you're worth on paper, but what are you worth in reality? And what'll happen a lot of times is we'll run the math on it, and that $4 million client has a $1 million tax drag. So, again, Drake, like you said, is the real value, is some tax structuring. So I said to this one client, I said, okay, you've got $4 million of assets. If you die, you and your wife, the kids get 3. So they get 3. So you're worth $3 million. What if we could do some tax planning, and instead of being worth $4 million, you're only going to be worth $3.7 million on paper. So it's a $300,000 lesser amount. But on death, your kids are going to inherit $3.7 million. So my whole point is, even myself personally, is the big number looks good. You can brag with the big number, but the kids are going to eat the net return of the estate.
Absolutely.
Number 4 here on why wealthy people pay for financial advice is their financial life stops being the do-it-yourself friendly strategy. So again, at lower income levels, people are pretty simple. It's a simple formula, right? I've got a TFSA plus an RSP plus some investments. It's really easy to manage, right? At the higher level, right, you've got, again, back to the corporation, you've got corporate retained earnings, you've got a potential estate freeze at some point. You might want to freeze the shares of the company for your kids. When do you do it and why do you do it? You've got insurance layering, right? You've got things like, again, we talked about the estate tax bill, but do we put insurance in place to provide some security around that? At some point, if you're a wealthy family, you might have assets, real estate, businesses, and so on. Maybe there's a family trust coming up. Should we or shouldn't we do a family trust? You've got some dividend planning. Do we start paying the kids some dividends? So again, we have to kind of grow our way through this. And again, you need experts to build that comprehensive plan when it comes to the complicated parts of your life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, the fifth thing that I've kind of written down here for me is I think wealthy people, it's a mindset I wish a lot of people would adopt, is buying good, high quality decisions, right? I think the sum of your life ends up being about the quality of the decisions that you make over time, right? And of course, there's small decisions and there's large decisions, but you want to make sure that these high level decisions you have to make, you're making them with the best possible information and advice that you can possibly get. You don't want to make them under uncertainty, right? So you don't want to have this friction where you're uncertain about the right path forward. You don't have all the information that you need to make the right choice. Of course, I've got a young family. I know how difficult it is sometimes just to hear myself think at home. Mm-hmm. If I'm trying to make these massive decisions while I've got all these other external pressures in an area where I'm not an expert, if I'm thinking wrong, I'm going to make the wrong decisions, and that's really hard to bounce back from.
Well, you know what, Cody, Drake, there's 3 big decisions a person has to make in their life, okay? Like 3 big decisions. And if you get it wrong, there's a big financial impact. Number 1 decision is, who am I going to marry, right? Again, pick right, pick wrong. Pick right, life's a bit easier. Pick wrong, that's a big check, okay? So big decision 1 is, who am I going to marry? Number 2 big decision is, how many kids are we going to have? How many kids can we afford to have? Can we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So pick right. It's manageable. You've got 2. It's easy. Steph takes 1 and you take 1. You're in a hotel. It's two queen beds. It's pretty simple. 4 or 5 kids. It's a bit more of a complicated scenario.
I always told her the world is built for families of 4. It's just table of 4.
Makes it easy.
2 car seats fit perfectly in the back.
Yeah, it makes it easy. Yeah. Third big decision is retirement. And again, like there's a lot of things that go into that. And one of the things that we talk about, and again, this is why wealthy people do pay for good advice, is we've identified that when a person goes into retirement, there's about 35 critical questions that have to get answered. And those answers are going to determine where your path takes you into your retirement years. So again, it's important to pick the right decisions.
Something that I thought about, and I see this quite frequently with middle income investors, and especially some of the younger people, some of my friends that I've spoken to, is middle income investors often misprice advice. I think that many people avoid advice because they see it as a fee, not necessarily as an efficiency tool. They compare it to some of the do-it-yourself investing costs, right? There's no fee, even though there are some hidden fees. And I think they underestimate tax and behavioral losses. I think the irony around it is those are the people that actually need structure the most, but they see advice as just optional.
You know what, Drake, they see it as optional. And I think sometimes too, they're afraid to ask for advice. And I think they don't know who to turn to for advice.
Sure.
And unfortunately, all advice in this world of ours that we work in, this financial world, all advice isn't created equal. So, you know, if I'm not feeling healthy and I go to a doctor who isn't the brightest doctor in the clinic, you know, I might go to see him and maybe he gives me the wrong medication. You know what? I want to go to the best doctor if I have a heart condition. I want to go to the best doctor if I have a cancer ailment, like anything. I want to find the best. And I think what people have to do is, even if you're in that middle market, Drake, you're in that mid-income market, still try and find somebody who's really, really talented. And obviously, you know, we're happy to help almost anyone in the marketplace.
Well, even to further your doctor analogy, when you go to the doctor and he's writing the same prescriptions he was writing 30, 40 years ago, right? Those are probably not the most up-to-date medications that you need or the right tools that are at our disposal. Same in our industry, right? You've got a lot of people that haven't caught up with how young investors and young Canadians are thinking about the markets.
No, 100% right, Cody. So number 7 here on why wealthy people pay for financial advice and others don't is wealthy people think in systems, not products. And, you know, so the less wealthy investor is going to ask himself, what should I invest in? The wealthy investor will ask himself, how do all the parts of my financial life interact with this plan? So I think it's important that picking a product, buying a fund, buying an ETF, buying a stock, that's a transaction. Nothing wrong with it in the beginning. But at some point down the road, it's how do these puzzle pieces all fit together, right? Because let's be honest, right? If I threw down 25 puzzle pieces and they were all different investments, no one really knows how they fit together. It's when you put them all together, you go, wow, it's a flower, or it's a car, right? So again, getting good, competent advice is going to be one of the best decisions you ever make.
Yeah, and I think it's being able to see down the road. I mean, I know in my age bracket, a lot of my friends, it's not that they don't understand, but they can't see ahead 10 or 20 years to the problems that they're going to have down the road. And I think that's what our job is to do, is to take our clients, do a really, really solid, clean discovery, understand what's important to them, and then help them see the issues that they don't even know is coming. Where are their blind spots? What are the things they're not thinking about? How can we show them exactly what they need to do from now until their retirement or in their post-retirement years to live the life they want to live?
You know what, Cody, and the last few points here I made notes on is that advice isn't expensive. Mistakes are. At higher wealth levels, complexity, not markets, is the main risk. And financial advice scales with the cost of being wrong. And the point of that takeaway is that, you know what, mistakes are really, really, really critical. It's really funny that you get the investor who goes out there and he hits a home run, hits a home run, strikes out, and all his money's gone.
Yep.
And I always said that in my life, I love to hit home runs, don't get me wrong, but I'll live with doubles and triples and go to the Hall of Fame batting 300.
Yep.
So I like the fact that it's a double, a triple, a double, a single, a double, a home run. But if you're trying to hit home runs all the time, it makes it difficult to, it's a difficult world of the investment game. So last takeaway point here is that don't be afraid to pay for some advice. get some advice. There's lots of ways to get advice. You can see firms like ours. You can, there's other institutions that do it as well. But at the end of the day, I think, you're gonna learn a lot. You're gonna gain a lot, and whatever you pay your advisor back, you're gonna earn it back in spades and in long-term wealth appreciation.
Yep.
Cody Miller, thanks again coming in this podcast. Drake Somerville, thanks again, my friend, for coming in. And I will see you guys back in about a month, September, back to school. Not for you because you've graduated and you're done.
Yes.
Your sister's going back to school, so we got to get her ready for the year 2 of her university degree. And your girls will be back. What grade are the girls going to be in?
So Emma's actually starting French immersion, which is super exciting. She's in the 1st grade, and then we've got a junior kindergartner off to school, and then my wife doesn't want to hear back to school yet because she's back in the classroom. But
teachers,
the girls are excited. I'll tell you that.
Teachers, man, they have that day counted down. They know exactly when they're going back to school.
To the minute.
They know the retirement date. They know when school ends. They know when school goes back. So
all respect to teachers.
Not a
by
bad,
the way.
not a bad gig. Again, thanks for tuning in to all of our listeners and watchers of the podcast. Don't forget, It's Your Wealth. Share it with your friends. We're on the Apple Network. We're on Spotify, and we're on YouTube. So, guys, thanks again, and we'll see you back here in 30 days.